Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of the faithful is having a fantastic week. On today's show, another fantastic one cooked up for you. Here's what we have coming your way. Deebo Samuel. He followed the 49ers back on Instagram. Does that mean that he's returning to the Bay? We'll explore all of that and what it means. Could Julio Jones sign with the Niners? Pro Football Focus thinks that he would be a perfect fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense as one of the wide receivers on this roster. Should the Niners sign Tretter because we're not sure if Alex Mack is going to retire or not? And we are 139 subscribers away from 59,000 subs. So if you love the Niners and you love our content and you haven't subscribed, or if you're coming across this channel for the first time and you want free daily videos on your Niners, just hit that red subscribe button down below. We should get to 59K with this video. Now, later on today's show, I'm going to reveal the answer to this trivia question. Don't cheat. Don't look it up. But what year were the San Francisco 49ers founded? Let me know into the comments section, and later on today's show, I will reveal that trivia answer. So we start off with Deebo Samuel. I took a look at his Instagram page like everybody did last night, and he is finally following the 49ers once again. So what does that mean? Does it mean that things have ironed out a little bit? Things have cooled down. He does not want that trade request to be sent packing out of San Francisco. And is he going to be on this roster in 2022 and beyond? I do think this is somewhat important because nowadays, social media, everybody's on it. And sometimes this is how athletes' voices are heard through doing things like this. It happened with Kyler Murray. It happened with Deebo Samuel. And it happened with A.J. Brown. Now, when you think about this, and the fact that everybody's talking about this on social media, it's ridiculous, right, when you think about it. I hate how Deebo Samuel, following the 49ers once again, is part of the news cycle here in 2022. It is peak 2022 social media society. And me, I'm a millennial. I've been on my phone all the time, right? In high school, I didn't even have an iPhone. I would sit in class and type on those keyboard phones beneath the desk and act as though I was looking at my teacher while texting my boys. Like, I'm all about technology and all of these advancements. And I've been a part of the social media game for a really long time, but it's 2022 and these things matter. And Deebo Samuel unfollowing the Niners on Instagram was certainly calculated. He knew that somebody would find out, that somebody would tweet it out on Twitter, and it would start a firestorm in a discussion about whether or not Deebo Samuel actually wants to play for San Francisco. And that's when he made that trade request be known, which caused a bunch of talking heads, including me, to talk about the possibility of him actually getting traded. In reality, Deebo Samuel wants a new contract. He has a base salary this upcoming season of $3.9 million. He wants to get paid. He plays a rugged, rough, and tough style of football. He was used a lot last year as a running back and a wide receiver. And moving forward, he wants more financial flexibility. So in unfollowing the 49ers, he knew that he would at least get some leverage in these contract negotiations. And at the very least, people would talk about the Niners not offering him a contract, maybe them disrespecting him with that contract offer, and he'd be able to take that to the negotiating table because a lot of fans are putting pressure on the front office to pay Deebo Samuel because they realize after the highlights that he put forward last year, the numbers that he produced, that this guy is one of one. He's a completely unique talent, and he was the MVP of the Niners offense last year. So does this mean that things are cooling down a little bit and Deebo is open to the idea of coming back to the Bay? I think so. Him refollowing the 49ers is a good sign. He was also interacting with Trey Lance on Instagram as well. I thought Trey Lance had a very witty response. He said, "Whoever is monitoring your Instagram, Deebo, I want them to monitor my wife's Instagram. Therefore, I know what she's up to on social media." Good bit of humor from the future franchise quarterback. Now, let's circle back to what Kyle Shanahan had to say about 1-9 throughout the NFL draft. He said, look, you'll consider anything when asked about trading Deebo. You have a responsibility to help your organization the most that you can. But losing a player like Deebo, it's hard to see how that helps your organization. So you try to look into all these aspects of it and what people are willing to do, but nothing was even remotely close to what we thought would be fair to us or fair for the Niners. And it's easy to see why. Deebo Samuel is an incredible talent. How many times last year did the Niners need a big play and Deebo was able to bail them out with yards after the catch, him going long, catching a ball across the middle, him playing running back. This Niners offense, with an inexperienced quarterback moving into 2022, needs Deebo Samuel as a security blanket, and I think by drafting Ty Davis-Price, they send a message to Deebo that he doesn't have to play running back as much. We have our physical downhill runner in Ty Davis-Price, so you don't have to worry about playing running back, Deebo. So I think all of this right now is moving in the right direction. And speaking of social media humor, Deebo Samuel's brother, who made a lot of noise a couple weeks ago by saying that Deebo wants to get traded, and then he retracted that statement, that then led to me following Tyquan Samuel, Deebo's brother, on IG. He posted this picture on his Instagram story, a fake tweet from Elon Musk that said, "Now that I own Twitter, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to buy the Niners to pay Deebo Samuel." Obviously, that's a good bit of humor. Tyquan Samuel with the crying emojis. Doesn't mean that Elon Musk is going to buy the San Francisco 49ers from the York family. People are talking. That'd actually be pretty wild. No, that is a fake tweet. It's not going to happen. But of course, we had to talk about it because we like having open discourse and we like having fun here on the 49ers Report. So much to get to and unpack on today's show, including Julio Jones, JC Tretter, and more. But are you convinced that Deebo is returning now that he followed the Niners on Instagram? C for convinced, D for doubtful. Let me know in the comment section. Now, we're once again going to take a look at the highest paid wide receivers because if Deebo does return, it's going to come along with a new contract for one of the most valuable players in the NFL. Highest paid wide receivers guaranteed money per year. Deebo will probably want something in this neighborhood, especially after A.J. Brown signed that new contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, and A.J. Brown. You look at the number figures down there. And then highest paid wide receivers per year. So it goes from guaranteed money overall on their contract to what they're making on an average annual value basis. Deebo is once again going to want something in the neighborhood of these 5 wide receivers here because if you watch Deebo, you look at his numbers, what he brings to the offense, the impact that he can make on games, you can also make the argument that he's as impactful as any of those players who are the top 5 highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League. Still to come on today's show. Pro Football Focus saying Julio Jones, a great fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense as really a depth piece to this receiving core. I'll talk about that as well as JC Tretter. Could he replace Alex Mack if Alex Mack does indeed retire? Also, the answer to that trivia question is also around the corner. But first, are you following us on Rumble? I hope you are. And if you are, I want you to type RO in the comment section because you're a real one if you're supporting us. If it's NY for not yet, do so right now. This is what I want all of you to do. Head to rumble.com/49erstv. Follow us by hitting the green follow button. You can plug in that link at the bottom of your screen in your web browser. You can also download the Rumble app. And on this video on Rumble, by going to the channel using that aforementioned link, you can comment anything that you want. If we get at least 10 comments, I will give all of you who comment on this video on Rumble shout-outs. Make sure you follow us, make sure you comment, and I need 10 of you to get over there. It's rumble.com/49erstv. Are the 49ers targeting Julio Jones? Pro Football Focus saying that he's a perfect fit. We'll explore this a little bit and what Pro Football Focus had to say. But a big question that a lot of you have while watching this show, what is Julio Jones now and what type of player is he? He's a player, in my opinion, whose numbers have gone down while the injuries have increased, and it's all evidenced by the stats over the last 4 years to my right. 2018, he was great. 113 grabs, nearly 1,700 yards, 8 touchdowns. By the way, with Kyle Shanahan, and I believe 2015, 2016 had the 2 best years of his career, so he's a great scheme fit for what Shanahan wants to do. 2019, once again, a really good year. Almost 100 grabs, nearly 1,400 yards and 6 touchdowns. What's been the theme, though, for Julio Jones the last 2 years? A lot of injuries. Too many injuries. He's been overpaid for what he's been able to bring his respective teams in the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. That's certainly a problem because there is a bunch of mileage on the tires. Now, Julio Jones was paid like a number 1 wideout with the Falcons as well as the Titans. He would not be paid like that with San Francisco. And if he wants that money at 33 years old, no chance I'm paying him that. As for what Pro Football Focus had to say, 49ers did draft SMU wide receiver Danny Gray in the back end of the third round, in addition to signing Ray McCloud in free agency. But it's hard to say that's enough in the receiver room for San Francisco. At 33 years old with consistent appearances on the injury report, Jones is no longer in the best receiver in the league conversation like he was for most of his NFL career. But that doesn't mean he still can't be a productive contributor to an offense. The 49ers didn't reunite Julio with Kyle Shanahan last offseason when he was available, but the price might be more attainable for San Francisco this go around. So if the price is right, I am so lukewarm on this idea, it's actually ridiculous, then maybe. But right now in this Niners receiving room, top to bottom, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, you look at the wide receiver depth chart here, Ray McCloud, and then other than that, like Malik Turner can be a solid player as a backup slot. Danny Gray is your draft pick. You have Keyshawn Johnson, Austin Mack, and a couple of other players who are very fringe-like. So, no. Do I want Julio Jones as a top 3 wide receiver on this football team? No. And you're like, Chase, you wouldn't take Julio Jones over Juwan Jennings? Yeah, I'm taking the JJ that's currently on this roster over Julio Jones because he's younger. And while he might not be as experienced, I like the growth that I've seen from Juwan Jennings. And I actually think as a slot receiver, given his size, he was awesome on the money downs last year. I want to see that growth continue. So Deebo, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McCloud, Danny Gray, I'd say all of those guys are locks to make this team, especially Ray McCloud because he's going to contribute on special teams. I think Malik Turner is another receiver who can crack this roster. And obviously, if you bring in Julio Jones, he might change things a little bit, but I'm excited for Ray McCloud and the special teams impact. I want to see what Danny Gray can bring to the table as my favorite draft selection that the Niners made here in the 2022 NFL Draft. And if it comes down to Julio Jones and Malik Turner, yeah, you're probably going Julio Jones as a future Hall of Famer, but I actually think as a depth option, Malik Turner can actually give you more because he's not injured as much and he can contribute on special teams. Before we get to JC Tretter, that trivia answer also coming up in just a few moments. Should the Niners sign Julio Jones? I want you to be honest with me in the comment section. They haven't made a lot of moves, but are they going to be making moves? S for sign or P for pass? As for the answer to that trivia question, here you go. Were you right? Let me know in the comments section. San Francisco 49ers were founded in 1946 by Tony Morabito and several of his partners, get this, from the lumber business when that was booming. Originally, the Niners played in the All-America Conference, but in 1950, they were granted a National League franchise, and they did join the NFL. So for all of you who typed 1946, good job by you. If I revealed the answer and you comment to 1946, at least you make yourself feel smart. Before we hop on out of here, JC Tretter, what's going on with him? He's still a free agent. Why is he a free agent? Could he sign with the Niners? So it all comes down to Alex Mack. Is he going to retire? Now, a lot of teammates were in Ireland when Alex Mack got married this offseason. Congratulations to him and his wifey. They look beautiful in those marriage pictures. But we're not sure if Alex Mack is going to return. If he does, he's obviously going to be slotted in as the center for this team. If he does decide to retire, should the Niners go after JC Tretter? The rumors on this front have been somewhat silent, but I think JC Tretter is just in this waiting game right now, trying to see which team he could go to be the starting center. Last year, in 2021, Pro Football Focus grade of nearly 79. That was 6th out of 39 centers. So last year, he was one of the best centers in the game, and I still think that he can give you very solid play. Traditionally, in Kyle Shanahan's offense, he has favored older centers. That's why he went after Weston Richburg, Alex Mack, maybe JC Tretter, and Tretter can still play. Why is he still available? A lot of injuries that have taken place over the last couple of years as he's continued to age. Now, is Jason Poe out of Mercer, UDFA, going to be the future center? Is Donovan West going to be the future center? They're going to be competing throughout the offseason for maybe a backup center role or maybe even a starting role if Alex Mack does retire. It all comes down to Mack and if he retires and if he doesn't. If he does, I think you could look at J.C. Tretter, Donovan West, or maybe even Jason Poe. Maybe even go elsewhere in NFL free agency. Who do you think is better at this stage of their career? Both have been getting the job done for a really long time. Is it Alex Mack? Is it J.C. Tretter? Let me know. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show, and hopefully by the end of the day, by tomorrow, we can get to 59,000 subs.